G'day everyone, Michael Taylor and welcome to 64 Motorsport. Got a bit of a vlog video for you today. A blog video? You sure you want to be doing a blog video? What do you mean? You're really crap at those, mate. Oh, crikey, I think you're being a bit harsh, mate. Yeah, we'll do a vlog. I'm not going to get any better if I don't practice. Yeah, I know you need to practice, but spare the viewers, mate. Point taken. Well, I'm going to persevere with this and we'll see how it turns out. For those of you who are regular to the channel and my videos, you'll have noticed that I took a bit of a break from filming for 4 or 5 weeks, and that's not so I can have a holiday, but my primary business is a lawn mowing, gardening business here in Brisbane. It's sort of the peak of the season. I was just finding I was burning the candle at both ends, and I thought I'll take a break, use the opportunity to focus on my channel in terms of future content, the way I make my videos, and ensure that I keep improving the quality of the content that I put out there for you guys. So that was the reason for the break, and quite excited and looking forward to being back in the garage. I thought it was a good opportunity to do a vlog and to give you an update in terms of where we're at with my E46 build, and hopefully give you a bit of a time frame in terms of getting this thing completed and up and running. I'm going to outline a few really exciting developments for 64 Motorsport throughout 2021, and I'm really excited to share those with you. At the end of the video, stick around because I'm going to do a bit of a Q&A. I'll have a look at some of the questions and comments that I've been getting on my videos and answer those publicly. Do a bit of a twist and throw a few questions out to you guys to answer so you can have a bit of input in terms of the future direction for my E46 build. So without further ado, let's get cracking. One of the things I'm going to start with today is getting this other rear wheel onto the left hand side. Main reason for that is help to clear up some space. I won't get the other front wheel on because I've still got to sort out the wheel spaces for that, but don't worry, I'm going to cover off on that a bit later. I've got my box of Mishimoto aluminium lug nuts. I love these things. Love that red colour. It just sort of pops with the colour of the car as well. We'll get these on and work our way towards the front, and while I'm doing that I'll throw out a bit of info in terms of what we're up to on the build. Not a lot of room here, eh? Easy, easy. There we go. No scratches. Fun fact, last time I got one of these wheels out, I put it down, I think it was the front wheel I was putting on. I put it down on the ground and then turned around to pick up the wheel brace to bolt it on. And as I turned around, the garage floor must slow down, and I don't know if you've ever noticed a reasonable hill on my driveway. The wheel's taken off out the garage door, down the hill, and I'm chasing after it at 1,000,000 miles an hour trying to catch it. Didn't catch it, it's bounced across the road, up over the gutter and into the bushes on the other side of the road. It's lucky. Old mate usually parks his car on the side of the road over there. And it's just lucky he was out. Would have been doing about 30 or 40 kilometres an hour by the time it got to the bottom of the hill, and when it hit the gutter on the other side, it probably got airborne, or about 6 foot up in the air before it landed in the trees across the road. So yeah, I don't know what the lesson there is, but shit happens. This is a good opportunity to cover off on where I'm up to at the back of the car. I'm pretty confident that everything's complete up here. Once I can get the car off the jack stands, get the car sitting on the ground, and I'm going to make up some stands with enough crawling room to get underneath it, because once I lower it onto the wheels and I get the full weight of the car down onto the rear and front wheels, what I can do is start adjusting and tightening and torquing up a lot of the bolts and nuts and bolts in the rear suspension components, particularly around the sway bar, end links and things like that, and with the lower control arm. The bushes in there, if you torque them up without any load on it, it's going to preload those components and the bushings, which is going to mean that the bushings aren't going to work as they should. In other words, they've already got tension on them before you even start using them, so they'll wear out a lot quicker and not work as effectively in terms of providing any cushioning. That's pretty much what I've got to do with the rear suspension and with the sway bar end links on the front. Let's get this rear wheel on, because that should help to complete what's happened at the back of the car. can't even remember why I pulled the pulley off for the water pump, but anyway, it had to go back on, so I've got that back on. Just one of those fiddly little jobs that needed to be done. On my radiator install video, if you haven't seen that, I've got an issue with the top radiator hose that is now making contact with the, I guess you call it like the idler pulley for the supercharger. So I've shot an email off to VF Engineering because apparently they have a range of top radiator hose options to overcome this issue. Once I get that sorted out, then I can get the top radiator hose sorted and then finalise the install on the radiator. You can probably tell there's a heap of plastic trim, bumpers, headlights, shit. Still got to get the headlights sorted out. But anyway, bumper and all that sort of thing to go back in. I've ordered a heap of replacement. What did I order? I ordered a front bumper hardware kit from ECS Tuning. So it's got all the little bits, plastic rivets, spring clips and all that sort of stuff in it. I'll start getting that back in. Months and months ago I painted up the housing or the cover for the fuel filter. I've still got to get it back on. I'll give you a run through on a major issue I've got underneath the car, which could potentially delay this whole project by months. Let's have a look at that and we'll go from there. The real issue which potentially can delay this whole project by months, but I've got a leak in the gearbox and I'll show you. These dots are red that I can, where my finger is. I think there's another one there. Where the real problem is, just here. The gearbox is in two pieces and where it joins together, they use a silicone seal. When I supported the engine and raised the engine slightly to do the oil pan gasket, I had to remove the gearbox mount, but I did have it supported on a jack, the gearbox supported on a jack stand. But obviously I didn't have it entirely level because I think what's happened is that it's created a bit of movement and it's broken that seal. And it's just 2 drops of oil. There's no gearbox oil on the concrete, so it's not like it's a major leak. But then again, the oil's cold because I've not fired it up. I've not used this gearbox in a couple of years. So my concern is once the oil gets hot, those 2 drops of gearbox oil are going to become a major leak. So whether it's sufficient a leak to prevent me from getting it onto the dyno and things like that, I don't know at this stage. The only way to fix it is to pull the gearbox out, pull those 2 pieces apart, reapply the sealant, bolt it together and put the gearbox back in. But anybody who's worked on cars in their own garage know that pulling a gearbox out while it's on jack stands is not a fun job. The other thing too is that gearbox has probably never been apart, so that sealant is as old as the car. So I guess any movement in that gearbox was going to cause it to fail anyway, so let's go. So there you have it guys, a bit of a run through in terms of where I'm at with my E46 build. A lot closer to finishing, but still a fair bit of work to go to get it finished. In terms of a time frame, look, I think realistically we're still 3 to 4 weeks away, and that's to do with maybe ordering some parts and doing a final checklist, and there's probably going to be parts that I've overlooked which I'm going to need to order, so we'll see how that pans out as we go along. So before I get onto the Q&A side of things with your questions and answering some of those, I'm going to throw out a couple of questions for you folk, so get your keyboards ready and post me some comments below. The gearbox issue, if anybody's got any sort of information or thoughts in terms of what that leak could be, let me know, because that could save me some time. As I said while I was under the car, I'm 90% sure what the response is going to be, and that's, yeah, gearbox out, reseal, gearbox back in. And it just grinds my gears, pardon the pun. It just annoys me if I've got to pull the gearbox out to do that, because I really wanted to wait until I was at a point where I could replace the dual mass flywheel and the clutch before I pulled the gearbox out. And if I've just got to pull the gearbox out to fix that and then have to do it again later to do the clutch and flywheel upgrade, I'm going to be pretty pissed. So with that issue to be resolved, my 1 month deadline could be totally derailed. I haven't ruled out doing a wide body kit. Post me your comments in terms of wide body kits, whether you're for them or against them, and if you are a fan of the wide body kits for the E46 platform, give us your thoughts on some of the different options. Street Fighter, Rocket Bunny. The other thing I've looked at is Hard Motorsport do some M3 over fenders. If you're not familiar with it, check out Hard Motorsport. I'll post a link below for their website, because actually they've got some really good stuff for E46 non-M track cars. So I'm really impressed with the range of options that they have for your non-M E46 if you're planning on a track build. Excuse me. For those of you who are curious, today I'm refreshing myself with a full nip of wild turkey, a heap of ice, which you can probably tell is half melted already, soda water, and literally a dash of Coke. It's like a nanosecond splash of Coke just to add a bit of sweetness. You know what they say about boys, we're not sugar and spice, we're puppy dogs, tails and frogs, aren't we? So anyway, moving on. I digress. Let's have a look at some of the questions that I've had and some of the comments that I've had in relation to my videos over the last 12 months. I'm not going to read all of them because thank you very much for your support and for your overwhelming comments. It really means a lot to me. In terms of the YouTube algorithm, it means a lot to that. So thank you very much for your comments there. Let's start off with, what have we got? Dasburk, D-A-S-B-U-R-K-E-L. Put it there. He's posted a comment in relation to my last video, which was on eBay headers, and he says, "You're wrong, eBay headers are worth it. Stock manifolds are rubbish. Scrap the OEM manifolds and break even on the exhaust work if needed." So I get what he's saying there. Even if there's modification that needs to be made to the eBay headers, it's worth the hassle, and he's of the opinion that regardless of the fact that, you know, the eBay headers may not be good as a Supersprint or whatever, that they're still way better than the OEM manifolds that's on the car. I've quite openly in the past stated that I don't believe that the OEM manifold is that bad. And look, it's not perfect, and I don't believe that any exhaust manifold that comes out on any car out of the factory is going to be perfect. And there's a raft of reasons for that. When a car comes out of the factory, it's got to be produced for a wide variety of applications: stop-start traffic, highway driving, and occasionally sticking the boot in. So that's why the OEM headers are not perfect, because they're a little bit good here, a little bit good there, and a little bit good there, but they're not exceptionally good anywhere in the power band. In years gone by, 30 or 40 years ago, your exhaust manifolds that came out of the factory were basically a cast manifold, which had a lot of restriction points. The internal surface of the manifold was very rough, so it didn't promote a smooth airflow and things like that. But on the E46 header, it's not a cast manifold, and so the internal surface is very smooth, therefore promotes reasonable sort of flow, and the connection points for each, I guess, primary tube is reasonably designed, but as I say, it's designed to perform in a variety of different rev ranges. By going for a performance set of headers, you can dial in more accurately where you're maximizing the power within a set power band. It's not so much that I believe that eBay headers are shit, it's that you need to do your research and make sure that the eBay headers that you're buying are going to give you the performance that you want in the rev range that you want. If you're getting a 10 to 15 wheel horsepower benefit from your headers, but 90% of that benefit is kicking in at 5.5 or 6,000 RPM, and you're not generally driving in that rev range, then what's the point? Do your research, make sure you know what you're getting, so that what you're putting on your car is actually a worthwhile step forward for your build than what's on the car. I'll leave that up to you. I mean, the whole point of these sort of videos and me making statements is not necessarily to be controversial, but to promote some discussion. And I don't expect that everybody's going to have the same point of view as me. I appreciate the fact that he's taken 30 seconds out of his day to at least say something. What else have we got? Oh, on-made illustrations. Congrats on 1000k, dude. Thumbs up, fiery ball things. Excellent. Thanks, guys. Yeah, 1,000 subscribers, and I couldn't have done it without your support, so I really appreciate it. It just makes it all worthwhile when you read comments like that and you see your likes and your subscription rate go up. And I enjoy doing it, and one of the reasons I want to do it is because I feel like I've got something worthwhile to say, and hopefully can help other people avoid some of the mistakes that I've made as they embark on their E46 journey. Okay, well, this is a good one from Perfect Beast. I have a Z4, which is basically an E46 with the M54B 25 engine, same as me, thumbs up. And I want it faster than the M3, no matter what it takes. Is it a mistake in your opinion? I'm going to start with replacing intake manifold, M50B 25 and headers to eBay headers, previous comments. Then I'll remap ECU and add 20 to 30 horsepower. Then I'll have the money, I'll turbocharge the motor, stock internals, and put it on another level. So yeah, look, I really appreciate, once again, those sort of comments. I love hearing about what you guys are up to with your BMWs, with your E46s and things like that, because it's not just me that reads these comments, other people read them, and any sort of feedback in terms of what you're up to with your builds and what you've got planned is going to help and inspire other people to do the same thing. And that's what I want my channel to be about, is to throw a heap of options out there, let other people know what you're doing, so that it might give them some inspiration and some ideas in terms of their build. And this is exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. I don't think it's a mistake. If you want it to be faster than an M3, go for it. It's your build. I mean, whatever, gets you out of bed of a morning and puts a smile on your face. It's not up to me to judge whether it's a good idea or not. The fact that you're working on it, I think, is a great idea. The fact that you've got some goals and a direction for it, I think, is fantastic. So, no, it's not a mistake. And I think there's plenty of information out there in terms of supercharging and turbocharging and things like that on the E46, that you won't have a problem getting this thing dialed in, and I've got no doubt that it is going to be faster than an M3. Thanks, Perfect Beast. What else we got? Mo Growler. I hope I pronounced that. Sorry, I'm using a spare set of glasses at the moment, so they're not 100% kosher. Oh, here we go. What's your thoughts on cheaper stainless steel eBay headers for the E46? Well, I think I've just covered off on that. I'm not even going to bother pronouncing his name. It's up on the screen, this comment, but I really appreciate it. I have a 320 Ci convertible, and I also got 170 horsepower. Yeah, which sounds about right. The 325 here in the Netherlands got around 193 horsepower. Can you explain? And I can't. Everything I've read on the 325 or the M54B 25 engine pretty much says it's around about 170 horsepower. And that's the way it came out of the factory. I can't explain it, so if anybody else has any thoughts in terms of why there is that disparity between the documentation and what they're actually achieving with that engine, then yeah, post me a comment. Really appreciate it. And finally, can you send a link to the camshafts you got, looking to do something a bit similar? What effects did this have in terms of displacement, power, drivability, etc.? And that's from Leon's account. And this is in relation to my video on the camshaft upgrade, and I've had similar questions in relation to where do you get them from and things like that. So I've installed the Schrick Camshafts, and if you want to know all the specs, you can watch my video because it's all detailed in that. But I got them from VAC Motorsport, and that was because I found VAC Motorsport had a better range of options for Schrick camshafts in terms of the lift and duration on both the exhaust and the inlet cams than anybody else. So there's a couple other places which will do a Schrick camshaft upgrade, but the ones that I found at VAC Motorsport had more options in terms of those variations. So I had 3 options to choose from rather than 1. I'll put a link, VAC Motorsports, I'll put a link to their website, and they can really help you out with your build. So if you're not really sure which lift and duration to select for your build, shoot them an email and tell them what you're doing, and they'll be able to recommend something. I've got no idea what difference it's going to make in terms of power and drivability. Like everything else I've done, I'm aiming for drivability and increased power in the low to mid-red range. And for me, I'm looking for a increase in power, anything from 2 to 4,000 RPM. I don't expect that they're going to have a negative impact in terms of the drivability. I mean, you know, you've all heard those, you know, lumpy V8s at the lights, which just almost stall because the camshafts are just so aggressive. I'm hoping it will give me a little bit of ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk lumpiness, but not to the point where I've got to increase my idle revs up to 2,500 RPM so it doesn't stall at the lights. So yeah, stay tuned, Leon's account, because when we get this thing fired up and down to the dyno, I'll be able to give you some very much more specific information. That's some of the questions I've had. Thank you very much for your extremely kind and congratulatory comments in terms of me getting to 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. It gets me right here and is, as I say, the motivation I need to keep going. So yeah, what are the future plans for the channel over 2021? Number one priority obviously is to get my baby girl fired up and then back on the road. From there, I'm going to look at stage 2 of the development of it. But hopefully before that, I'm in a position to start on a second build. And at this stage, it is going to be another E46, unless a really good E36 project comes along that tickles my fancy. And I have some really exciting projects in mind for a second E46 build. So that's in the pipeline and hopefully in the first quarter of this year. As a reminder, drop me some comments below in terms of your thoughts on going a wide body kit. Also, drop me some comments in terms of other upgrades and things like that that you would like me would like to see me tackle in relation to my build. There's a lot for you to answer. There's a lot for me to answer. Once again, if you've liked the video, please hit that like button. It really helps me out and show YouTube that you're supporting my channel. And look after yourselves, stay safe, and TTFN.